Hey, it is Monday night, 19th. It is time for Without Rule of Law Cards live. We got a really great panel here tonight. I apologize for it being late. That was technical difficulties on my end, but we got it squared away. We'll go around the circle. We got Dale up in the upper left-hand corner. That's Dale from Survivalist Prepper. How you doing, Dale?
Good.
Good. And then we got the one, the only, the myth, the legend, Jester. Jester from It's Doomsday podcast. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Before,
but I caught up on some of your podcast stuff. That's some good stuff. If you guys haven't seen his YouTube channel or his podcast, go check it out. And then we got the man. Look at him, self promotion, local prepper. How you doing, man?
I'm super duper. How are you?
Okay, well, now that I got the damn stream running, I'm good, man. I got to admit, I was sweating it there for a second. That was just the most inopportune time. So, okay, for anybody that's never done this before with us, this is Without Rule of Law. It's a card game. It replaced Conflicted, and we used to do the Conflicted lives, and so now we are doing the Without Rule of Law cards. There are 300 cards in 10 different categories with almost any kind of post-apocalyptic scenario that you could think of. And what we do is we'll ask one member of the panel to give their opinion on it, and then the other two can tell him exactly how wrong he is about it and give us their solutions. All right. People in the chat, if you don't want to watch this on YouTube, it's streaming over on Rumble. Did you guys stream it on your channels too? I sent you the links. I don't know if you did or not, but if you didn't, if they did, go check out their channels. We've got 3 decks of Without Rule of Law cards to give away tonight. Yoda is moderating in the chat, and she's going to be paying attention to people in chat. And if you type the magic word, you're going to win a free deck, and we'll get your contact information, and the guys from Without Rule of Law will send it directly to you. So if you want to win some cards, be active in chat. All right. So here we go. The first card is from the category Emergency Preparedness Basics. Oh, hang on.
Oh, you're all going to fail.
All going to fail.
That should be an easy one for all of us.
No,
it should be.
I don't know the basics. I only know post-apocalyptic.
So here's a rule, or this used to be a rule, and everybody that's seen this before knows. I had this thing, shoot him in the face was not a proper answer in Conflicted, because almost every single card in that deck, shoot him in the face, was a viable option. And by the way, YouTube, this is for entertainment purposes only. We're not advocating anything illegal, immoral, or violent. So just go away. All right. Oh, and you guys say whatever you want. Just try not to get the plug pulled on the live before it's time to end. Okay. So you just free reign. I do not care. Okay. So anybody, the emergency preparedness basics in this deck are nuts and bolts, how to do things. So we'll start with Dale. We'll just start with Dale since he's up there.
Great.
So this is, have you identified the location of emergency exits in buildings you frequently visit, such as schools, workplaces, or shopping centers?
That is something I do every single time. It's almost become a habit now. Maybe not to the level like people that have been in the military do. I know, like with Brian, when we used to do our show, he talked about it all the time. But I'm I really don't like crowds of people in the first place. The exit is the first thing on my list that I'm looking for, is how am I going to get out of here when these people start acting like fools, and what am I going to do? So yeah, and maybe it's my prepper brain or whatever, but it's always something I'm looking at observing how people are reacting and figuring out what I'm going to do if this or that or something else happens. Yep.
I pretty much know the answer for the other two guys too, but you got anything to add to that, local prepper?
I didn't even catch most of the question, but let's see. Yeah, I mean,
just nod your head and say yes.
No, there's a camera over here, and I
shoot him in the face.
Somebody was looking inside my window. Anyway, yeah, live. Ka-cha! No, but yeah, no, that's all correct. That's all correct. There's no right or wrong answer to it. you sit with your back to the door. You know where the exits are. You pay attention to the people that are coming in and out of the kitchen. Things like that.
What about you, Jester?
I have little ones, so this is something I do a lot everywhere I go, but mainly now because of the active shooter situations. I want to get my kids out as soon as possible, so I look for these places everywhere I go, and I always sit with my eyes toward the front door, never the back door.
Okay, what would you guys say to somebody that says you're overreacting?
Tell that to every parent who's lost a child in a bad scenario.
Damn.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people say there's so much just lackadaisical attitude these days that's just the default, I think, in a lot of people. But yeah, I don't with all the things that are going on, until it actually happens to them, then a lot of people are going to be like that. But I don't want to be that statistic. And like Jester said, tell that to people that have been through situations like that.
Mm-hmm. And you cannot protect your family with complacency.
Yes,
that should be a T-shirt.
TM.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the next one. This one is going to be economic collapse, and we're going to let local prepper take this one.
Guess I better pay attention. Ready, go.
And well, I really like these cards, but some of them are extremely wordy. They're not as bad as some of the conflicted cards, but they are kind of wordy. On April 16th, 2032, in Atlanta, Georgia, the economic collapse has resulted in the scarcity of essential goods, leading to rampant bartering and trading. You have a rare skill that is highly sought after in this new economy, but offering your services may expose your family to potential dangers such as theft or kidnapping. Do you use your skill to structure resources for your family, potentially drawing unwanted attention, or do you remain inconspicuous, struggling to make ends meet through other means?
I would say see, that's a tough question, because the wraparound of that is, do you already have community? Because if you don't have community, then the answer is to stay as inconspicuous as possible until your skill becomes so needed that they can't afford to not have you. They can't afford to make you bad. They can't afford to take your stuff. But if you have community, then none of that matters.
Okay, what about you, Jester?
I'm going along the same lines as what LP said. If your skill is proven to be so valuable you are needed, use it, but keep it close to the chest until then.
What about you,
Yeah,
Del?
and I think all of these, a lot of these questions, and even back to the conflicted deck as well, there's so many different variables, and I think LP alluded to that as well, is that it depends on how much you prepared beforehand, before this happened, what sort of community you have set up, how well you are doing at that point. If you don't need to, then I probably wouldn't whatsoever. But if you didn't do things right, there could be a situation where you just have to. If you run out of food, or you run out of water, or supplies, or things like that, you may have to. It'd be a valuable asset. Or on the other side of that, maybe there is some sort of community set up where you are comfortable doing that, and it is something that will help the community as well as yourself. So, it's a lot of variables, but it would completely depend on how safe it would be for me, anyway.
Yep. And it seems to me like every conversation about preparedness comes back around to community at some point.
Yeah.
And Corn Pop said, use your skills to become a warlord. Why not? Got nothing better to do, right? Okay, so the next one. Anybody got anything to add on that? Anything else? If not, then we'll go to Jester. We'll fill this question to Jester, and this is from the new American Civil War. It seems to be on everybody's lips these days, and this one also takes place in Atlanta. Apparently, Atlanta is a hotbed during the apocalypse. On June 30th, 2033, in the city of Atlanta, Georgia, amidst the Civil War, you are a scientist who has discovered a way to disable the enemy's most devastating weapon. However, implementing your discovery would require the sacrifice of a group of innocent captives who are being held by the enemy as human shields. Do you proceed with your plan, knowing that the deaths could ultimately save countless lives, or do you abandon your discovery, potentially allowing the enemy to continue wreaking havoc?
Well, if you want to make an omelet, you have to break a few eggs. Some things have to be sacrificed. If it is truly 100% for the greater good, yes.
I wonder what that ultimate weapon they have is, because
yeah,
I mean, my gosh. What about you, Dell?
Yeah, it kind of that's like the age old question. You see it a lot in the movies too, where somebody, you know, they kidnap somebody's wife or something like that, and he sacrifices half the continent just to go save his wife or something. And it's that, you know, that situation you think of. Is it like Jester was saying, for the greater good? Is it something you sort of have to weigh things out and figure out what the best course of action is? And it's one of those where I don't know if there's a right or wrong. You just kind of have to roll the dice and go with it.
Yep. LP, anything to add? Contradictions?
No contradictions. Not to sound more red than others, but if you're following the Tucker Carlson interviews, he was actually interviewed after he got out of Russia, and they were talking to him about how he didn't ask them about this and human rights that and things of that nature. And he said he wanted to talk to him about people, and that in the end, the leaders of nations kill people. Every president killed people. Every person that led a nation killed people. So yeah, you got to kill a few people.
Okay. That's reasonable answers, seriously. And I go back, so stupid. Spock in the one movie where he talks about how people have to be sacrificed for the greater good, you know, and sometimes you got to do it. Okay, the next question. By the way, everybody in chat, if I'm not saying hi to you, I'm paying attention to the panel. You guys, I'll keep an eye on it, and I'll pop good stuff up. But everybody that's showing up, thank you for showing up, and we really appreciate you being here. The next one, this one goes to who went first last time?
Jester did.
So this one goes to Dale.
Better listen then.
On February 21st, 2026, in San Francisco, California, during a bank run, during the Great Depression, you are a manager at a local bank that is on the brink of collapse. You have the option to impose withdrawal limits to prevent a bank run, potentially angering customers and causing further unrest, or you can allow unrestricted withdrawals, which could lead to a bank run and eventually collapse the bank. What factors influence your decision, and how do you balance the potential consequences for the bank, its customers, and the economy against the need to maintain customer trust and loyalty?
The first thing I'm asking myself is what types of life choices did I make that I am in San Francisco or California in general in a situation like that? So that would be the I suppose I deserved what I get at that point. But and I suppose taking off is not an option, because I don't think there is. You're going to have pissed off people regardless of what decision you make. If you tell people they can only have a certain amount, it's going to cause chaos and riots. If you close down altogether, same thing. And if you just let people have free reign, you're going to run out of money real quick, and everything's going to go to crap. So I don't know that there is a good answer other than maybe filling my pockets and taking off. Oh, I think you're muted.
You may have just lost.
That is, I'll just talk while you're doing that, but that is the situation we should be prepared for, because there are a lot of different scenarios where that is possible, and the banks will just completely shut down the bank holidays. We need to have everything we can.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. There was a complaint about the mic volume, so I had to fiddle with it.
So I turned it off.
Yeah, Jammer WV says Dell Newsom running California.
Yeah.
What about you, LP? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean that's a catch-22 situation. You're screwed if you do, and you're screwed if you don't, no matter how you do it. You know, I mean, and like Dale was saying, maybe I just rob this bank and walk away. You know, but you know, bank runs there's a real possibility of bank runs happening. You know, we saw that in Greece when they decided to mess with their economy the very first time. You know, there's been bank runs in China. I mean, they happen. They happen. I guess if I had to decide, I would probably limit withdrawals to $500 per person until the bank ran out of money, and then I would instantly order more money. You know, banks are only required to keep a certain percentage of their actual balance sheet inside of the bank every day, so they literally have to order money every day.
Is this a situation that's restricted to San Francisco, or are we talking wider?
Well, it says the new Great Depression, so I'm assuming that we're seeing it all across the country. So this is probably no help coming from any outside sources. You know, and even if they do send you money, it's probably not worth anything. You know, Weimar Republic. What about you, Jester? Would you worry about the customers, or would you worry about the bank?
So I'll tell you what, during that lovely spring season of 2020, I knew friends who tried to pull out money, and they were limited to, I want to say, $1,500 a day. So they went back daily and got their money. There wasn't any widespread chaos that took effect with that. This was down in Florida. So I'm going to go with what LP said, limited amounts daily until you run out. But I'd order well before I ran out if possible.
Okay. On to the next question. This one is pandemic. It's like none of us have any experience with this, right?
Yeah. None.
What's really funny is they started developing this like before the pandemic started, and so these are like halfway through the pandemic. Some of these questions we've actually lived, and we're going to find out if this is one of them. This one goes to Local Prepper. On August 15th, 2026, a rapidly spreading virus causes panic in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The government decides to limit public gatherings, including religious services. As a religious leader, you believe your congregation needs spiritual support more than ever during the challenging time. Do you obey the restrictions and provide remote services knowing it may not be as effective? Or do you put your faith in God and hold in-person services, trusting that the virus won't infect your faithful congregation? Ooh, you talk about nuance, man.
Well, honestly, I'd probably do what the ingenious religious people. For those of you guys knows that I'm not religious, but I am huge on constitutional rights. So I would probably say, okay, we're going to go outside, we're going to get our chairs, and we're going to sit 3 feet apart, and we're going to wear masks, and we're going to do this all outside, and damn this rule or law or whatever it is, because you know what, that's just bull. You know, we've got the right to freedom of assembly, whether they like it or not. And if they felt as members of this church, if they felt that they wanted to be there, then they're going to be there. It's that easy. They're going to come if they want to come, and they're not going to come if they don't want to come. But the service should still be available to them. And screw Zoom. It doesn't work.
Especially for big groups like that. JD Dutra, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Jester, what about you? Would you follow the edicts of the government, or would you provide services to your flock?
I think what I would do is similar to what Local Prepper said, but I'd put it on the spin of, if you feel you're healthy enough to risk it, come on, show up. We're not getting shut down again.
Okay, I'm sorry. I've got my producer in my she's telling me how to run the show. Apparently I'm not running it properly. So I said thank you very much, guys. The donations are appreciated, but they're not necessary. Any donations we get will go to supporting the channel and making things better for you guys. Dale, what about you? Are you a good shepherd, or are you a state agent?
This is an interesting one because you sort of got hindsight, because we've been through it. We saw the shenanigans that they pulled. I wonder what how my answer would differ if we didn't go through what we've been through a couple of years ago. But I'm on the side of freedoms and being able. The lockdowns were an absolute joke, and I think it's more the individual, what they want to do, what they feel comfortable doing, and not the people on high telling you can do this, you can't do this, and all of that. So it would definitely be it's something that wasn't mandatory, or something that religion can get pretty they could be pretty big sticklers about how you do things and what you're supposed to do. But it would be the situation where I said, hey, I'm going to do this. You guys are welcome to come. We're gonna do this the safest way possible for everyone, but we're not going to close things down because that is the edict from the people on high. But it would be something that if you feel comfortable doing it, you do it, but not something that you have to do.
Okay, I'm gonna throw. I don't usually do this with the cards, but I'm gonna throw a wrinkle at you guys and see what you think about this. Hindsight, COVID, what 2.7% death rate among people that were infected, some no worse than a heavy flu season. They're talking about a new strain of COVID. They're testing in the lab for gain of function that has almost 100% mortality rate in the test mice, the rats and stuff that they're using. Does knowing that that's out there and knowing that something like that in the future, knowing what you went through in COVID, if something like that happens again, does that change the way you approach that problem, knowing that it actually may be something more deadly this time?
Possibly, because when this all started out, that's basically what everybody thought. Holy crap, here's Armageddon. We're all toast. We're all going to die. So it probably would. I would, just like in the beginning of the pandemic, it was sort of a wait and see how this goes. And it didn't unfold the way a lot of people were thinking it would. So I think, yeah, if it were something that was more deadly, you would have to take it more serious, just on a personal level. I'm not going to put myself in that situation. So
what about the other two? You guys got anything to say about that?
I agree with Dale. If I see people dropping like flies, I'm going to be, worried about myself, worried about family. I'm not going to put myself or anybody I care about in harm's way.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
it just doesn't make sense.
Don't believe the hype.
Don't believe the hype.
They all said we were going to die. They all said the people that weren't vaxxed are they're going to die.
Well, I died, but I got better.
Yeah, exactly. I had it twice. It sucked. I did. I didn't have any of the magical serum or anything like that. I in the end, they called it the flu. Next question.
Absolutely. And this one's for you. This is World War III. In the throes of World War III in 2048, you are the leader of the newly formed country called Republic of Texas, which is now situated between two major warring powers. Both sides pressure you to join their cause, offering various incentives and threatening severe consequences if you refuse. Taking either side will likely result in your country becoming a battleground, putting your people's lives and your nation's sovereignty at risk. How would you navigate this complex situation, and what steps would you take to protect your people and maintain your country's neutrality? It's kind of a weird question.
Yeah. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say the person who wrote that question has never shot anybody in the face before.
Probably not.
So here's the thing. The question doesn't actually work because you can't maintain your neutrality. You have to choose. The question starts off, pick one side or the other. And what are the ramifications and how are you going to protect your people? And then it says neutrality. There's no way to maintain neutrality because, unless the question said, hey, you've got a 10-to-1 advantage over these other two countries. And then in that case, you can maintain your neutrality, right. But you can't. So, you unfortunately, you're kind of stuck, and hopefully you can get the best of both worlds, but you're going to have to pick the country that you're going to have to pick the winner. and if you don't, then there's going to be a problem. It's if I save your kids today, but your grandma dies, did I really fail? That's the real question.
Okay. What about you, Jester?
I'm going to go. So for me, it's whoever has the biggest guns, right? If you can maintain being neutral, that's great and that's awesome. But if you're caught in the center of this conflict, you're only going to maintain being neutral for so long, right? In my eyes, it would be better to side with the country that is the most powerful, regardless, to ensure my people's ultimate survival.
Okay. HG posted a pretty novel approach to the problem. Not sure I would do that, but it's a novel approach. What about you, Dale?
I think there's a couple different things. I think absolutely right. Who's got the most power? How is this divided up? Because if you're in Texas, to your left, you've got California and things like that, which not so sure about all that. And then on the right, you've got a whole lot more, and up above you, so how are the maps made up, basically? And at the same time, you've got to think about what each side, how they align with what you want, what's the war about, I think, because yes, you want to side with the people with the biggest guns and the people that are most likely to win. But at the same time, how does that, affect your morals and what you feel like you should stand for? So I think it's tough, but you would have to figure that stuff out. And I think the people with the most guns weighs pretty heavily in the whole situation. But at the same time, how can are you enough to affect the other side to the point where they do have enough force to kind of take that on? And sometimes you just never know, that will and the drive and all that. But yeah, it would depend on what it was all about for me. And then it would go into who's got the best chance and how do I what gives me the best chance of getting through this?
Okay. JD Dutra posts a really, really good follow-up question to that. What if the strongest side doesn't hold your values, Jester?
See, yeah. So now that I know we're getting like a bit more methodical about this and we're getting a little bit deeper. Yes, that is a good point. Whoever's aligning more morally and has more values. But at the end of the day, if you're dead, what do your morals and values matter?
Yeah.
Right. So maybe we keep this little territory neutral for as long as we possibly can, till there's people knocking down our front doors telling us you're going to conform or else. Then we slowly conform. We allow the bigger side to take over, and then we just kind of wander away back to our morals and values.
Now, see, now we're playing politician games where it's the cat and mouse crap and the lion and the, hey, I'm going to be on your side until I'm not. And then, but you kind of have to do that. You kind of, for your own survival, you kind of have to play those games.
So local prepper nailed this card when he said there is no answer to the way the card's written, because you have to pick a side, and some of these cards are written that way, and they provoke these longer conversations and go off on different tangents, and other ones are just answer the card, and there's like really no gray area to them, and so it's one thing I like about this deck is they managed to throw those in there and make it so it's a little what's the word I'm looking for? Diverse.
No right answer.
Yeah, no right answer. Exactly. But lots of good stuff in the commentary, in the comments. A lot of people are saying play both sides about that. Okay.
Yeah.
The next one. This one is for Jester, and this is natural and man-made disasters. Boy, that's another one we're getting a lot of time in right now too, isn't it? On August 3rd, 2029, in Los Angeles, California, a global media company develops a new technology that can accurately manipulate video and audio in real time. As a content creator, you have the exclusive access to the technology before it goes public. You can choose to use it to create influential content for the greater good, or exploit it for personal gain by creating scandalous fake news. What would you do anything with this technology to benefit yourself or any other cause or not? If so, what would you create?
Oh, man. The possibilities with this are endless. I don't think I would use it for personal gain. I definitely don't think that I would. But in the moment, being able to create something, God, is there any way I can create some kind of awesome video with this thing that's going to make people get off the couch and do some exercises? Because I think that's what's really needed in this country at the moment.
That's not what was on the card.
I know it wasn't what was on the card. I wouldn't use it for personal gain. I could say that much. As far as, influencing anything out there, maybe getting people to not be so influenced by the media.
Okay.
Maybe, because I see a lot of that
What about
right
you,
now.
Dale?
This is a tough one because and 2029, we're probably going to see this stuff in like 2025. So, but from if I controlled the levers and things like that, it's tough to say you wouldn't, because while I can't stand the propaganda and things like that, there are situations where it is effective. And kind of like the last question where we were talking, I think it was Spags talking about playing the gray area, is sort of the same type of thing. What is the end result that you're going for? And are you, I guess it's how you feel about yourself. Are you an evil person? Are you trying to do good? And what do other people think about you as well? Because just because you think you're good doesn't mean you are. But it's the end game. And what is it something that's going to benefit your cause? So I don't know. It would be a moral decision what you were going to do with it and how you were going to do it. And you've also got to factor in that if somebody else has got this, are they going to be doing it and you're not? Are you putting yourself at a disadvantage? A lot of things to think about with a situation like this. But I would try not to be evil about it, and I would try not to use it for self-gain. But if it was a bigger cause, it'd be something you'd have to think about. You have that tool.
Yep. Okay, shameless plug time. And Spags says it. Spags and I are doing a live Wednesday night, and we're going to talk about the very subject of nice and good does not mean that you're moral and ethical, and the ramifications of that to our society. So Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Jester, that's the only time zone that matters.
Okay.
Central Standard Time, okay? We are going to talk about that. What about you, local prepper? What do you got to say? Would you manipulate people, or would you use it for good?
It's a double-edged sword, because you're only going to get to use it one time. If you use it for good, the evil people will want it and they'll get to use it. The question was to use it before everybody else gets it. So you're really only going to get a chance to do one thing with it. So if you decide to use it for good, you will likely not gain from it at all. If you use it for your personal gain, they're probably going to come and try and take away your personal gain because you manipulated something. You can't win with it whatsoever. So I'll take a chance on good. I'll figure. I don't know what. I don't even know. But I mean, if I'm just playing by the rules, I would find something good to do with it.
Okay. And Spags is chiming in again. I'd use it to make a purple smoke grenade that would only get deployed to master retreat. Okay. I think he's talking code there.
They already make purple smoke grenades. You know that. Come on.
Next one. This is for Jester, right? I think Jester was next.
I think it was Dale was next.
Or is it Dale next? You guys are throwing me off my game, man. Usually I can keep track of whose turn it is, but you guys
spin a little wheel and just pick whoever the hell you want, because I don't remember who it was either.
Drink coffee.
Drink coffee. There you go. So this one is government.
Oh, the government.
The government. On June 15th, 2027, in the desolate landscape of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the government has created an advanced surveillance system to monitor all forms of communication, both online and offline. your spouse, a human rights activist, has been communicating with other activists to organize a peaceful protest against the government's oppressive policies. Do you continue to support your spouse's efforts, knowing that the risk of detection is high, or do you convince them to abandon their protest, ensure your family's safety at the expense of your spouse's ideals? Would Lisa be allowed to go face the government, or would you be there as her white knight?
This is assuming if I told her no, she'd actually listen to me in the first place. But yeah, this must have been written probably before January 6th and all that, because we see how that all goes, and they do have quite a bit of that technology right now, and it's by, what'd you say, 2029? It's or 2027, somewhere in there. It's going to be far worse than we can even imagine, I think, anyway. But it would depend, I suppose, on how much I supported that cause, because there are things that she does and things that I do that maybe either one of us are not super into, but we support each other. That is something that I would have to have massive buy-in to put the family in jeopardy with something like that. And luckily she's smart enough to know the same damn thing. But if you feel adamantly enough about something, say the Second Amendment or something like that, then I think that's a big problem these days with people, is there's not enough people standing up. And they sort of did that with the whole Capitol thing, is they scare people into not standing up and not saying anything. So I think you kind of have to, and you got to hope that you've got to cross your fingers and hope that more people follow suit, and it becomes something that it doesn't matter how much surveillance and how much crap they have. Okay. But most of the time that's a failed plan, but you got to cross your fingers anyway if you believe in it enough.
LP, you know a little bit about the surveillance state technology. What do you say about this?
Let's see. I've had 2 wives. Does anybody know a good divorce attorney? Yeah, I hate, even Yoda says divorce the spouse. That's a smart lady there. It's a tough card, because I mean, when you married this person, you kind of had an idea of what their value system was and whether you wanted to be involved with them. The whole implication of the card is that you don't know this person somehow, and now they're this activist person who is dragging your entire family and other people's lives into a situation that it's going to put everybody in danger. We still have over 100 people that are locked up inside of a jail in Washington, D.C. because they had their phones on while they were within some kind of box around the Capitol. So it's very possible that this lady is going to be out doing her thing, and hey, call me if you need bail. I love you, but you can't drag my kids into this. Okay. So brush your hair, brush your teeth, and wipe your butt, because you may not be able to do that for a while if the government decides to come get you. Because I'm telling you, if they decide to come get you, they're going to come get you. It is that easy.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Jester?
Starting to see why you've been divorced twice.
So if we're already under the surveillance state, they know that the masses are organizing anyway, and they know that they're going to go out there to protest and demonstrate. I think if your spouse is in your home planning this protest, you and your family are at risk anyway. If she wants to go, let her go. But I don't think I'd let the kids go.
No.
I don't think I'd do that. I think I'd get a babysitter that I trust and maybe go with her to ensure her safety and prevent her from doing something dumb. Because if they're surveilling the way they are, they already know who's going to be there. They already know I'm going with her, right? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where I don't think I'd stop her.
The thing about this question, the determining factor is we've seen what they're willing to do. Mm-hmm. It's knowing what they could do and see what they're willing to do are 2 totally separate things. And we know what they're willing to do, people that are stepping out of line now, so, and that's a tough question. I don't know what I would do. I'm not sure.
I don't know that it'd ever get to that point, because with the surveillance and everything, they're probably going to want to squash something like this before it even gets started. So,
Okay.
so
well,
she might already be locked up. So you're safe, local prepper.
We have run through one card from each one of the scenarios. Nobody has guessed one of the magic words here tonight so far. So here's what I'm gonna do. The first,
you didn't say anything about the magic words like you
What are
normally
the
do.
magic words?
I'm not telling them. They have to.
No. You didn't
What is
introduce, you
it?
didn't
I don't know
introduce
what it
anything,
is.
so nobody knew.
Yeah, I told everybody in chat whenever they.
Oh,
okay. Whenever they say the magic word or they type the magic word, they get. Oh, not you guys. I'm sorry. No, you're right. The magic words are for people in the chat. Okay.
I was going to type the magic words and see if I got a deck of cards.
So I can't read that.
It wasn't for you. You can't win.
So what I'm going to do. So the two producers, the two guys that are behind Conflicted and WROL cards, one of them is a major prepper YouTube person. The first person that can tell me who that person is gets a free deck of cards.
And I know the answer to this question too. This is bonk. It's unfair.
It is unfair. Now they're just typing random words in. Nice.
I had JD on my podcast, probably 8 years ago when he first came out with Conflicted.
Uh-huh.
But I don't think that's the name you're looking for, right?
Nope, that's not the name I'm looking for.
Okay.
And
Check the chat.
Let's see who can. Oh, we got one.
Nope, you picked the wrong one.
No, I know, but JD was given a hint.
I got you.
But where'd it go? There it is. Nope.
He's so close. You're gonna be technical.
Oh yeah. Yoda says you got to do the whole thing.
You got to do it perfectly.
They got. Oh, and they even got his real name too.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
They get a deck of cards. Congratulations. Look at KY Goatman won cards last time, and he got a deck, so he's gonna stay quiet. All right, congratulations, Life with Mike and Jen. You guys get a free deck of cards. There's still 2 more cards out. They are both apocalyptic and prepper related. So hopefully something will come up that will cause somebody to type them in. But, oh my gosh.
Northern Democrat.
Or Northern Democrat 2. Always causing trouble, man. Always.
I think Spags is 2 glasses into the Jameson.
Okay, next card. We're gonna switch directions. So this one's gonna go back to Jester. We're gonna switch back to Jester on this one, and this one is another religion card.
Ooh.
On March 23rd, 2025, in the desolate remains of St. Louis, Missouri. Yeah, you don't have to wait that long, people. A religious extremist group is attempting to fulfill an end of days prophecy by igniting a war between different faiths. They have orchestrated a series of false flag attacks to escalate tensions and incite violence. You've uncovered evidence that could expose their deception, but revealing it would make you and your loved ones targets. Do you come forward with the truth, risking your safety, or do you keep your findings hidden, allowing the group to proceed with their destructive plans? So I think the keywords here are desolate remains of St. Louis, Missouri. So it's obviously post something nasty happening.
Okay, so if I put the information out there that I discovered, the evidence I discovered, it puts myself and my loved ones at risk.
Yes.
Okay. But it could potentially stop a major conflict.
Potentially, yes.
I'm gonna. This might sound like a little bit of a cop-out, but if the risk to myself and loved ones is very minimal risk, I'm going to expose it. If it's minimal risk, if I feel I could survive it and we would be okay. But if not, I might just keep my mouth shut and kind of wander back into the woods.
Okay. What about you, Dell? I'm sorry. Next one's local prepper. We're going the opposite direction. What about you, local prepper?
First, I would create an anonymous email address. I would name it something like "It's Doomsday Podcasts," and then I would PDF that information up, and I would send it up to all the big wigs: Fox, MSNBC, CNN. Make them fight for it, and then it's done.
Okay. And that was
That's not the part of the question. You're getting exposed. It's
no, I'm not.
Do. Yeah, you are.
I beat the card. This is the Cody Option, and I'm Captain Kirk.
So there are television stations in this desolate wasteland.
Desolate. No more CNN. No
Starlink, bro.
the news.
If they can afford the poison Kool-Aid, they can afford Starlink.
Well, somebody posted basically the underlying tone of your answer, though. Who was it? They said let somebody else expose it. Let somebody.
That was what I wasn't going to say quite like local prepper, but that's kind of what I was going to say too. The potential to stop a larger conflict is just not enough for me to put myself at risk. If it was 100% guaranteed, I might think about it. But if there was a way, I would try to figure out a way to get that information out. Now, when I'm thinking desolate, I'm thinking like Mad Max type, put some notes under a rock or something like that, and somebody find it rather than, CNN and Fox News and all that. But I would try to get that information out and get myself out of there, because it wouldn't, the potential just isn't enough for me to put myself at risk. And it really depends on how much risk that is as well. But I don't know, the potential to stop something in a situation that you're talking about desolate and it's far past gone in the first place. I don't know what the gain is from outing those people. And when it comes to cults and crap like that, people are going to believe what they want to believe, and it doesn't matter how much truth you have anyway. So it could just be a losing battle to begin with.
This is true. And several people in chat said, not worth my effort, walk away, don't worry about it. So apparently there's other people that agree, Okay, this one is a nuts and bolts card. So I'm not going to ask you, I'm going to ask the question on it. But when you give your answer, I want to know what your advice would be to people in regard to this card. Okay, I think that's probably better, because I know when we throw a nuts and bolts out for you guys, you're all basically gonna have the same answer, because you wouldn't be on the panel if you did not have that mindset. Okay, but I'd kind of like to see what you would give advice to everybody in chat or anybody that's listening to this. Okay. Are you familiar with specific types of natural disasters or emergencies that are most likely to occur in your area? And have you taken necessary steps to mitigate risk and damage to your property and belongings? So what about you, Jester? Or Dale, I'm sorry. We're going the opposite direction. Dale, what do you have to say about that topic?
So advice, I suppose, and it's sort of the advice I give all the time in preparedness is start locally. Don't plan for the nukes and things like that. So prep locally and then work your way out. Think about your local community, the services that are available. What do they recommend? Look at those websites, not the federal government websites, but the state websites, and what they recommend, because they're going to have all the resources, the cert classes, things like that are going to be designed for your area, and then work your way out from there. Here in Colorado, there are different, like where we live towards the east of it, tornadoes are a much bigger factor than up in the mountains. Up in the mountains, you've got different natural disasters and things like that you need to look out for. So figure out what is the biggest threat to you and focus on that. And I think that should be the number one thing with anybody starting in preparedness. Get that little stuff taken care of and then work your way out, and don't worry about the crap going on in politics or, the stuff going on overseas and all that crap. Get your stuff figured out first and figure out what your immediate threats are and what the biggest threats are to you.
Okay. What about you, Jester?
Oh, well, what Dale said, identify your local threats. They're different. When I lived in Florida, we suffered from hurricanes. Now I'm up in the mountains. We don't have any real natural disasters to worry about specifically where I live. However, I do work with the county as well, and I can't stress training enough to people. Get trained up on stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
In any natural disaster, your biggest threat is going to be something going wrong in the lack of communication and emergency services. So if you're at home and dad has a heart attack and 911's not answering the phone and they're not coming, you might have to take steps to keep him alive. And that could be any natural disaster across the board, right?
Okay.
Ensuring you're prepared for those situations does start locally. Again, I go back and agree with Dale. And most people that live in these scenarios know how to deal with them. Like when we lived in Florida, everybody filled their bathtubs with water. Everybody filled the freezer with bottles of ice because they knew you're not going to have water and the power is going to be out. All the old timers in these areas know these things. Talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, see what they got prepared just in case you suffer from tornadoes. What are their steps? Do they have a shelter? Can you go to their place? Those kind of things.
Okay, good answer. What about you, LP?
I guess the first thing you do is don't be where the problem is. I live on the Eastern Shore of Virginia. I tell everybody that. It's a big place, but it's a little place. All the snow that everybody's been sucking with all went to the north. All the hurricanes and tornadoes that everybody's talking about, they all go to the south. I live in a place where I don't have to worry about these things. But in my threat analysis, one of the big problems that we have here is that we have a growing number of criminal entities that have decided to move into the place and sell lots and lots and lots of drugs. And drugs bring guns and bad money and bad people and druggies that like to break into houses. So those are the kind of things that we have to prepare for around here. Although most of these rural little towns on the Eastern Shore don't really have a problem. They're like any other place. They have a bad spots. They have good spots, things like that. You know, but when the Irish gang from Boston shows up in your backyard, you might want to have a plan.
Okay. Yeah, and I like the think locally answer, that because I'm a firm believer that if you take care of the little stuff, whenever the big stuff comes around, it's more of a nuisance than anything else, right? So I'm sorry, I interrupted something. I didn't mean to.
Well, I was just gonna say with Jester's comment, I completely forgot about that, and I wanted to reiterate it because it's such a good point with the training. You can have all the supplies in the world, and it really doesn't mean anything if you don't know how to use them. You can have the trauma kit, you can have the chest seal, all those things, and if you don't know how to use them, it's pointless. So the training is just absolutely huge. It'd be far more important than any supply.
Yep. Excellent answers. Were you guys paying attention? There in chat? I'm looking down at the laptop. I apologize. But good advice from everybody. The next one, whoever's next. I think it's local prepper's turn. 1994, Mexico City, Mexico. During the Mexican peso crisis, you are a financial analyst with insider knowledge about an imminent bank run. You could use this information to profit by short selling stocks of the affected banks, potentially worsening the crisis, or you could refrain from exploiting the situation and risk losing out on a significant financial opportunities. What factors influence your decision, and how do you balance your personal financial interest against the potential consequences for the financial system of the wider economy? And that was from the economic collapse deck.
So let me get this right. I'm in Mexico.
Yes.
And I'm a financial advisor.
Yes.
Okay. Well, since I'm in Mexico and the laws are pretty lax down here, I'm probably going to take advantage of it. I'm going to tell all my friends. I'm going to make it so it's like I'm not the only guy who did this. And if I go to jail, I go to jail. But you know what? I bet I can get across that border before the Mexicalis get to me.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do.
Very, very good.
Bank run's a bank run. It's going to happen whether I like it or not.
Okay. What about you, Dale?
I sort of agree with that, because one person pulling one little lever, not going to make a big dent in the whole, what everything that's going on. But I think it's pretty interesting that we all love to rail on all these pieces of crap that are doing things like this on a daily basis and basically ruining things. But when you think about it and you put yourself in that position, it's it's not so cut and dry, because to short sale and profit for yourself, and you're thinking about, you're looking at something that has the potential to just go haywire anyway. So if you don't, are you cheating yourself? I mean, there's just so many different. I think I'd have to go with watch out for myself first. If I know that if I'm that straw that broke the camel's back, maybe not. But if I know that there are so many other things going on that this one thing isn't going to be the cause or the solution, I'm watching out for myself. And like, you're down in Mexico. That's probably a lot easier to get away with stuff like this than it is up here. A lot more options, I suppose, down there.
Okay. What about you, Jester?
I honestly think
Those damn ethics.
right.
Yeah.
So that's what I was going to say. I think I'm way too honest to screw people over. So I think I would have to keep my moral compass straight and not do anything devious. I honestly don't. I think I'd feel too guilty after the fact, and I'd hate myself for it. I think I'd have to stay morally straight.
Karma.
So this brings up something really interesting about these cards. Number one, like Local Prepper said, you need to answer the card as it's written. The first time around, we can always add stuff after that, but do the card the way it's written. This is for everybody that's never played this before. The second thing is, and Dell kind of hit on this too, you're in Mexico, and the culture in Mexico is completely different. And it's some of these cards are really hard to answer sometimes if you read them literally, because you're taking your ethics and morals that you grew up in and inserting them directly into a culture that's completely foreign to you. And so I think one of the important things whenever you're playing these cards is to try to open your mind up a little bit and think about, how would I behave if I lived in this culture? How would I honestly behave? I'd like to think that I'd be moral and ethical, but would I really? So just if you're playing the cards, guys, do it that way. Try to insert yourself into situations that you probably not comfortable in, or you probably wouldn't be in real life. Okay.
Did you see that comment Spags put in the
about the economic?
You need to post that.
Yeah, I had that up there for a second. Where'd it go? Man, these guys are jamming through the chat, and I'm having a hard time following them.
That's from that perspective, it's pretty interesting, because like what Jester was talking about with the morals and all that, and karma coming to bite you in the ass. If you're down in Mexico, the odds of you getting shot or killed for doing something like I was talking about is far greater than up here, where there are more laws or perceived laws anyway. But down there, sometimes they just, you just disappear down there into a million pieces.
Yep, absolutely. Yoda, do me a favor. Did we get a second winner? I saw your post, or I saw your chat comment that there was a second winner. Was that something else, or did somebody actually win the thing? Because I missed it. And if they did, who was it? Okay, next question. This one goes to Dale. Again, the topic du jour that everybody's talking about, the new American Civil War. In the midst of the new American Civil War on February 16th, 2026, you're a soldier stationed near Richmond, Virginia. Your unit is tasked with capturing an enemy stronghold. However, you discover that the stronghold is being used as a shelter for civilians who are caught in the crossfire. Would you follow orders and capture the stronghold, potentially harming innocents, or disobey orders and try to protect the civilians, risk being jailed by the army, or worse? What would be your main goal after this decision? So would you try to protect the civilians, and what would your goal be after making the decision?
I think that attacking the stronghold may it really depends on the situation, but it may actually help them. It may almost be like freeing them and getting them out of the way. It depends on, who's the good guy and who's the bad guy in this situation. And I would assume that they are the bad guy, since they are the one that basically have these people that are caught in the crossfire. So you'd want to sort of liberate them and get them out of the way. And, there's going to be casualties regardless. You're talking about a civil war situation, and to think that there's not going to be is just not realistic. So it's sort of along the same lines as the first question we had, where it's like, do you sacrifice the one for the many, and I think it's that same type of situation where, yeah, there may be a couple lost, but how many people are going to be able to get out of the crosshairs because of the action that you took? So I think it would be something I'd have to do. Again, there's other underlying factors that I'd have to consider, but yeah, I think I'd want to go in there and, one, take that over, and two, maybe help some of those people out if I could.
Okay. What about you, Jester?
Dale said you're going to have casualties with war. The Civil War situation is unpredictable, depending on what people are fighting over, depending on how ruthless people are being. Freeing them means, and not putting them in harm's way, means you go to prison, right? You're being arrested by the army, essentially.
Or worse.
Or worse. And doing your job and taking the bunker, these people, some bad things are going to happen to these people, and we know that. I think I'd follow the orders, take the bunker. You're going to have casualties regardless. Hopefully they're minimal. Hopefully you can help these people after the fact. Hopefully.
Okay. What about you, LP? He's scratching.
Orders is orders. That's what he's going to say.
There's a lot of variables that are missing from this question, man. All right, Dungeon Master. These civilians, whose side are they on? It's a civil war.
Well, I'm assuming from the way the card's written that they're that majority that I talked about the other day that are
they're the dipsticks that won't pick a side.
Yeah, they just don't want to be involved, and they're just stuck in the middle of it all.
I got you. And then you also said against the government, so the implication is that we're fighting against the government.
Well, let's see. What's the card say?
So it could be safe to say one of these protesters, or one of these people that are trapped, or one of the protesters from earlier, your wife could be in there, LP.
Well, then my next question is what color is their hair?
Yeah. Actually, it doesn't say the government. It doesn't say the government. Although I think Dale kind of nailed it. I mean,
I thought it said the government. Well, I mean,
you got to assume that you're the good guy.
Yeah, that's the thing. Everybody thinks they're the good guy. There's been situations that I've been in that I was told I was the good guy, and turns out I wasn't. It's just that easy. So, I mean, I think the word that they should be looking for is non-combatants. I'm not trying to change the card. What I'm saying is that unarmed people are non-combatants until they become combatants. Do your best, but you know what? There's a huge difference between, if we're talking Civil War, I probably don't have access to GPS guided bombs and making things disappear like that. Like we're watching, everybody's referencing Gaza, but that's not a civil war. That's a superpower destroying, just stomping on an ant. That's what's really happening over there. In a civil war, there's no tell. I can't say it wouldn't be like that. All I would say is that I can never envision a time where, there's a civil war in the United States where it's going to be, rogue F-15 pilots dropping bombs on U.S. government facilities. And, there's just too much technology to stop all that. So I guess the real answer is that if it was our job to go do it and there was a real mission behind it, because in civil wars, people are fighting for intangibles. They're not fighting for land or water or logistics. They're fighting for intangibles. And so if I'm on that side, then I guess we're going to go do it, but there's going to be a real mission there. And if not, I feel sorry for the person who told us to do it.
And that, folks, is how you give a nuanced answer to one of these questions.
It's a good answer. I like it.
Yes, it was a good answer. Very good answer. Okay, the next one. This one goes to Who's next? Who's next? Raise your hand.
That guy.
Yeah, Jester is. Jester's.
No, not me. Local Prepper's next.
Oh, local prepper. Oh, you're pointing up. I thought you were saying you were number one, Jester.
Everything's backwards.
It is. It is. Okay, this is another bank run. Did you do a bank run question last time?
Yeah.
We're gonna skip that. We're gonna go to World War III. We'll get that. We'll pass that next one on to Dale. This is World War III question. During World War III in 2036, you are a high-ranking military officer who has been captured by the enemy forces in New Orleans, Louisiana. Your captors offer a deal. Provide them with sensitive information about your country's military plans, and they will release you and a group of fellow prisoners unharmed. If you refuse, you and the other prisoners will face torture and possibly execution. How would you handle this situation? And would you be willing to betray your country to save the lives of fellow prisoners? Wow. I'm glad I asked you that question first.
POW code. No.
Yep. No. What would be
it's that easy.
Okay.
Regardless of what side you're on, you know what I'm saying? I mean, the jarheads in the room have the you know, this is who we are, this is how we were trained, this is what we do.
Yep.
No, you know, I've been through the SEER course, and no, they don't really beat up on you or anything. Well, depends on the level, but anyway, you know, I mean, people get scared and they do things and they say things and you know, they'll get anything to get out of pain or being tortured or anything like that. So it's very difficult to say no, but you don't know what side you're on. I'm a high-ranking officer. If I'm with the U.S. government, well, that's where I am. Maybe I'm a high-ranking Confederate general in the field, you know, but I mean, you give them information, and then once they get the information, they're done with you. You're no longer an asset. Your life depends on you keeping your mouth shut so that you maintain your worth. So the answer is no.
okay. Dale?
Yeah, same thing. Shoot me in the face. or please
I don't
do,
think
because
anybody's
if
ever
not, the
actually said that on
alternative is
the show.
getting tortured and getting, you know, waterboarded or whatever they're going to do, pulling your fingernails out and things like that to get you to talk. But yeah, I don't think there is. They would have to do a lot to get me to say anything, because there's no good outcome. And one, you're betraying your country, and two, what's the point? Like you're gonna give them the information and then you're gonna go out to have dinner together and things like that. No, there's no winning that situation other than prolonging the inevitable.
What about you, Jester?
You're dead either way. As local prepper said, once they get the information out of you, you're no longer needed. So they're going to get rid of you. At the same time, if you do give up the information and they do let you go, then that's treason, which is still punishable by death. So either way, it's a bad deal. I would hope to die quickly and retain the information as long as I possibly could.
Okay, excellent. Okay, I'm going to use the power of being the host here. Hippocrates Gardens just won the second deck of cards. The answer was actually OPSEC, which was a great tie-in to this question.
I knew that.
Are you gonna take that one?
I'm gonna take it.
Okay.
He gets it.
It was close. I mean, I was really wanting to pull out my hair. Nobody's paying attention.
You're not my supervisor.
Go. She thinks she runs things. Congratulations, HG. Send us your contact info, and we will make sure that a deck gets out to you. We got one deck left that we're going to give away, and we'll see if somebody gets it. If not, we'll have to give them a hint. You know, they're kind of chat. They're getting tired. They've been typing and talking amongst themselves, so they're getting tired and they're not really paying attention.
How many of them are in there?
At one point, we got 47 now. At one point, it was close to 60.
Nice.
Close to 60. So this next one is for Dale, and this is another bank run card.
Don't screw it up.
I'm On May 3rd,
Take the money and run.
Take the money. Dale's default. That's his shoot him in the face answer for every bank card. On May 3rd, 2030, in Detroit, Michigan, a bank run during the Great Depression has led to a drastic increase in the number of homeless individuals in your community. Your church plans to offer sanctuary to those in need, but the decision has divided the congregation. Do you support the church's decision to open up its doors to the homeless, potentially alienating some members, or do you side with those who oppose, knowing it would leave the homeless population without safe haven? So do you open your church up, even if the carpets have just been cleaned?
I don't think any of that really would be in my head at all. I think just me, the way I am personally, I'd want to help people out if it didn't put me at risk, if it didn't, wasn't a detriment to my situation. But then you've got the other side of that where you can't help everybody, and what happens when you do help some and the other people you're not going to be able to help. But just like when people talk about in an SHTF situation, you're going to turn everybody away. Somebody comes knocking on your door, you're just going to turn everybody away. I don't know how realistic that is, because we all are humans and we all inherently want to help people. So I'd probably err on the side of helping people that I could, but at the same time, I'd try to do it in a way that wasn't going to make me a big target. And I don't know if that's even possible, but turning a bunch of people away isn't necessarily going to make you less of a target either, because you're just going to have more pissed off people coming at you. So I think I would just me inside. I think I would have to, especially being a church leader or in a church, I'd have to try to do something.
What about you, Jester?
Well, it sounds like the congregation's already divided. So it doesn't sound like we're much of a congregation anymore. I think I would do the right thing, taking the homeless people, provide them with shelter. The people that would be opposed to that, I think, shouldn't be there anyway at that point. Because if you're coming together in religious form as a congregation, your ultimate goal should be humanity anyway. And what is more humane than that, than helping the less fortunate? So if they're opposed, they can go, they can leave.
Okay.
Good
Okay.
point.
What about you, LP?
Yeah, I agree with Jester. It's the doors. I remember, like everybody, I tell everybody I'm not religious, but I was baptized a couple of times. They tried, it didn't work. I remember when church doors were never locked. I remember when you could walk up to a church in the middle of the night and open the front door and walk in. No one said one word to you. Obviously, times have changed, but yeah, I say open the church doors. I mean, that's I think it kind of goes against everything the church is for. And if they just look at it flat out from the church's perspective, they just raise their attendance on Sunday.
Yeah.
No one is saying set up tents in front of the the archbishop's house. That's not what they're saying. They're just open the doors, let them come in out of the cold. That's what the church is there for.
How you gonna face God when you turned a bunch of poor, unfortunate people away for yourself?
Exactly.
That flies in. You might as well just not be religious at that point, and sort of what Jester said, just take off. So if you didn't like the fact that we're going to try to help some poor homeless people, leave.
It's a little counterintuitive, and if you think churches don't split, what is it? I don't know if you guys followed this or not, but what was it? One of these churches just split over the LGBT thing. It was like the Unified something church. I can't remember what maybe it was the Lutherans. It was like the Unified Lutheran Church or something like that. And now they're no longer unified, because half of them said, yeah, let them in. The other half said, no. It's just bad. It's just bad business all the way around, especially when you got this rule book, it's been read by any more than anything in the world. And it says, be good people. you know, help people, things like that. There you go, Methodist. You got it.
Yeah, United Methodist. And I'll say this. I'll say this about this question. So the people in the congregation, I may disagree with them, but I'm gonna give them a pass on this because that's something that we can work out after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
But if my church leadership says no, I'm not staying with that church. I'm not.
Yep.
And the fact that Joel Osteen still has 60,000 people in his congregation shows you exactly what the state of the American church is today, as far as I'm concerned. You know, so that's just my take on it. Okay, the next one, pandemic. This one goes to who did we just do? We did. It's local preppers.
I did.
No, it's Jester's turn. We're an hour and 15 minutes into this. I need my beauty sleep at some point.
Yeah.
Okay, this one is from the pandemic again. On March 1, 2029, in the city of Boston, Massachusetts, a mysterious, highly contagious disease is spreading rapidly. You discover that your closest friend has been infected and is unknowingly spreading the disease to others. Reporting them to the authorities would likely result in their isolation and probable death, but doing nothing means more people will be infected. Do you betray your friend to save others, or do you remain silent, causing more infections and death?
Report. And I was kind of in a situation where this makes sense. So whenever spring of 2020 hit, we didn't know what this was. So we took this extremely seriously. I have a group of people that I do things with. We took this very, very seriously. And my best friend on the planet, who I had all the trust in the world, violated the rules that we set forth and decided to be selfish and do stupid things when we didn't know what this was. If he's infected and this is that bad of a virus and I report him and he gets put in isolation and dies, he could die outside of isolation and take other people with him. Your best friend will be the first person to screw you over when things break bad. Your best friend is the first person to stab you in the back. So he's getting reported. He's going into isolation. Hope to see you when you get out, bud. That's it.
I like that. What about you, LP?
What's the ratio? What's the death ratio?
Well, apparently it's extremely infective. It's what did it say? A highly contagious disease. Doesn't say anything about the death rate.
Highly contagious. You mean like the cold? Sons of bitches.
Highly contagious, like a rhino.
LP's a little jaded from the pandemic.
I mean, is it what was it? Gonorrhea, herpa, AIDS, or something like that? It's like it's gonna quadruple putz you, and I don't know. I guess shoot him in the face.
Damn.
Problem solved.
Okay. What about
Stupid
you, Dale?
cards.
I think I'm telling him, you go do the right thing, or you're going to force my hand and I'm going to have to, because, and hopefully that person understands. If it were me in a situation like that, knowing that, I was going to get locked up or, probably possibly most likely killed, I'm still doing it because I'm not going to walk around, killing a bunch of other people. So I'm still going to do it. If it's a situation where I'm 100% sure that I'm infected, and again, going through the pandemic and seeing some of the things that they did without a care in the world, it makes me sort of think twice about that. What are you throwing that person into? But at the same time, if you don't, how many people around you are going to start dropping like flies? And that could include yourself as well. So I think I'd give them the option to, hey, go do the right thing, or I'm going to do the right thing for you.
Okay. Well, and I think so. We were in the same situation as Jester, as far as our group took it really seriously, and realistically, early 2020, they were throwing numbers out there where you could extrapolate a 10% death rate, which is higher than the Black Death. Not the Black Death, the
Spanish flu.
The Spanish flu, higher than that. So we were taking it very seriously. So at that point, I'm telling them, go do the right thing. But it very quickly became obvious that it was not as deadly as what they said it was. And once it got to the point, you know, between my knowledge from working at the hospital and everything, I got to the point where I didn't care, you know. And the big question at that point comes, what happens the next time something rolls around and it is bad? Have we created an entire population that are complacent and will not care because the boy that cried wolf and end up having a higher death rate than normal or not? You know, and I can't help but think that may have been part of the plan, was to desensitize people. You know, that's just where's Spags with his tinfoil hat, man.
I have a
Oh my
whole
God.
conspiracy for that, but we don't have that kind of time.
All right, so I'm going to just read it. Spags posted, if herpes can't get people to wear condoms, why should I stock up on toilet paper for a respiratory virus? There's
I thought
Spags.
about it that way.
I loved it. You know, here's the thing. You're right. What, you know, we could play the what if game all day long. There's all sorts of jokes about what if. But here's the news. Here's the news, guys. 2036. Here's the news. Hey, there's a new disease. Something is going on. Oh, never mind. That's just my computer being stupid. Here's the news. So you remember that thing we told you guys about that really didn't kill a lot of people? Well, these people are all dead, and these other two people are in the middle of dying, and now it's real. There's the news. If they just do that, people will be like, where's my mask? Even though I know it doesn't work. Where's my mask? Where's this? Where's that? They'll take it seriously. Nobody takes it seriously anymore not because of the boy who cried wolf one too many times. Nobody takes it seriously anymore because people don't trust it's that easy.
Yep.
They don't trust the news.
And if something does come along that justifies the response, they're not going to get it. It's going to be bad.
I told everybody that whenever I quit wearing them, I never did wear a mask, but I refused to. And everybody said, well, you know, what if it's serious? I said, the day you see me come in and this is shaved off is the day you need to start taking things seriously, because that's the only time I'm wearing a mask is when this is off, because it's the only way the dang thing will seal. Yes, ma'am.
Third deck, Skeins.
Skeins girl won the third deck. She got the answer. They were just throwing words out there.
I had to give hints. Nobody's smart out there.
Ouch. I don't know if the chat heard that. Yoda said you guys aren't very smart.
Who said that?
Yoda, not you guys, the chat. Said the chat's getting kind of dense.
Slackers.
Slack, absolutely.
Did you hear what he just called you guys?
You guys are slackers.
Dense slackers. That's not a way to talk about your chat members.
This isn't my channel.
Throw that hand grenade.
There's 9 people in my channel.
Wait, hey, chat. If you like Without Rule of Law, you can get it if you go in the description of the live. We've got our promo link to the company. You can get it, and you get it. You use our code and do all that stuff. Also, if you want to do this on a more frequent basis, go to the Midwest Preparedness Festival Discord, and there is one of the channels on there is the WROL channel, and Spags Unfiltered posts a card about every other day on there, and it sparks discussion, and there's some really good discussion that goes on in this live. Local Prepper's on there, and he's answering the questions. I'm on there and I'm talking about it. So if you want to see more of it and be more involved with it, go to the Discord. All right. Next one. You guys, we're at an hour and 23 minutes. You want to go through 3 or 4 more cards and call it a night? I know it's getting kind of late for you guys on the East Coast. You know.
No. We had time for a nap.
Time for a nap. Okay. The next card is natural and man-made disasters for whoever is next. I'm gonna let you guys police yourself on this one. On
LP just went, I think.
Yeah, so it'd be you, Del.
Okay.
On March 15, 2031, in Charleston, South Carolina, a powerful hurricane strikes the coast, causing widespread flooding and destruction. An emergency shelter manager must decide whether to allow more people into the already overcrowded shelter or to turn them away, knowing they have no other refuge. If you are the shelter manager, how do you handle the situation?
I don't. That really depends on what the facilities can handle at that point, because there's only so many. I mean, you can pack people in like sardines, but if it's not going to do anybody any good, I don't know. But at the same time, I'd have a hard time just leaving people out to dry. But a hurricane is one of those things where you should have a little bit of advance notice on what the hell's going on. So if I have a hard time feeling too sorry for somebody that is standing out there and is in that situation, I would help as many people as I possibly could. But at the same time, I'd be maybe trying to give guidance on how to protect themselves because there's no more room inside or whatever I could do. But I wouldn't jeopardize the safety and the lives of the people inside already to start packing that open. And then you've also got to think about how you're going to protect the facility itself from the people that you're not going to let in, because they're not just going to walk away quietly. So it'd be a tough one.
What about you, Jester?
I'd say pack them all in. Hurricanes don't last all that long. People are going to be uncomfortable for what, 5-6 hours max until things start calming back down. We can deal with some clogged toilets and some destruction after the fact, but making sure everybody gets through it and survives it would be my priority. So that's what I do. Pack them all in there, as many that could fit as possible. Worry about the secondary problem after the first problem goes away.
Okay. What about you, LP?
100%. Just make sure you frisk them before you let them in.
Good point.
See, you can tell I've never been through a hurricane because I'm sitting here thinking we're talking days. And Jester brought up a good point. You're only talking hours. So sort of like a tornado or something out here where just get that immediate safety. So yeah. I'm the mean guy this time. I'm the one that's divorced local. You this time.
So don't worry about it. There's lots of women out there.
The only typhoons and hurricanes I've ever been through was when I was in the military. And we sheltered in place in the barracks. So this question, I have to ask this for you guys that have been through it on the civilian side of it. Are there shelters like in the heart of the hurricane that people go to, or do they try to evacuate as many people as possible?
There's typically advance notice for evacuation. If they know it's coming and they have a path, they put it out there a day or so in advance to evacuate. Hurricanes will also change level, so they can become more serious before they hit landfall, or they could degrade and go down. Every place that I lived in when I was in Florida, there was a local shelter somewhere in the area, and it could be the local high school gym, it could be like a local civic center. Some place is there to take people in, because every city has the same thing. They have elderly people that live alone that don't have any family to transport them, and then there's also homeless everywhere, and they have to go somewhere because bodies stacked up on the streets is not a good look on the news. So most cities and governments and municipalities have plans in place for this.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. Like I said, I've only been through, I did it on an aircraft carrier, and I went through big hurricane in North Carolina and a big typhoon in Japan, like two big typhoons in Japan. So I don't know. It's civilian side. It's kind of an unknown for me. I've never been through it that way.
Yeah, emergency management services in counties pretty much have it all figured out, where they're going to go, what they're going to do.
Okay. All right. Next one. This one is from the government deck. This is for local prepper. Again, devastated remnants. On May 22nd, 2030, in the devastated remnants of Phoenix, Arizona, during the height of a fascist federal regime, you are a citizen who has access to an underground radio station that broadcasts uncensored news from outside the country. Sharing this information could help others make informed decisions and resist the regime, but doing so could put your own life at risk. How do you weigh the moral duty to share the truthful information against potential risk to your own life, and what factors influence your decision to either share or keep the information to yourselves?
It's a stupid question. Ain't nobody ever
I
turned a
don't
damn
wanna
radio
answer.
on before. Did the radios quit working in 2035? I'm the only person that has access to international news via radio waves.
Well, maybe they confiscated them all. Or maybe
Okay,
they're jamming.
so
Maybe they're jamming the signals, and you know that.
I would, honestly, I would probably make sure that information got out through the radio waves. The same way it got to me, probably. But yeah, I would probably do it. I mean, but you could probably set things up so you're run remote stations. That way they can't really get you that quickly. You know what I'm saying? I can't remember what a retrans site. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Yeah, just run yourself a retrans site, and then when that goes down, pick up another retrans site. And with today's technology, I mean, they'd literally have to come out there with some pretty serious sniffing technology to find the originating stations. So yeah, I'd probably do it.
Okay, Dale.
Yeah, I think you'd have to do it. I think that it would really depend on how critical that information is and how helpful it would be to your cause, whatever that is in this situation. Sort of ambiguous with what caused the complete devastation. But I think anything that, if you are up against the regime and you're trying to make advances, I think that information, and you said it was truthful information. Yep. So I'm assuming it's not just propaganda and BS, but any information that could sort of open people's eyes and get people on your side. I think you have to. Somebody's going to have to do it. And if you're the only one with a radio station, the ability to broadcast, that means it's you. So I think you'd have to.
What about you, Jester?
Well, from the beginning portion of the question, it sounds like you're already at risk. So what's a little more risk? I'd want to get the information out there. That's what I would want to do, because you could wake up tomorrow and still be in the same risk in that scenario, whether you did or you didn't. So let's do it. Let's get it out there.
So Gregory Kissel makes a good point here. Share with others, French resistance style. And the underlying thing behind that was the Germans went in and they seized radios, and it was like a capital offense to have a radio and to be listening to these other stations. So I could see a situation where people are afraid to use them in this scenario. They're afraid to turn on radios and having to sneak them and do all that stuff. So in modern America, yeah, it may be a little far-fetched, but I could see it happening. Yeah, absolutely. And if you guys missed it, LP just held up his cell phone, All right, guys, listen, we've been at this for an hour and a half. This is about where I like to call it quits, because we're gonna do some cleanup at the end of this. First, I want to ask you guys in turn. Dale, what you got going on? What do you want to share with people about what's going on with your media sites and everything?
Lately, I've been doing a lot. I've sort of put Survivalist Prepper, the website, on the back burner. I'm still doing the podcast. Well, basically doing like live streams and things like that and turning them into a podcast. But I'm doing a lot of work over at the Bug Out Location. I've got a YouTube channel, the Bug Out Location. I've got my website, the membership website, thebugoutlocation.net. And I'm trying to focus. I'm one person, so I'm trying to narrow my focus and not spread myself too thin. So I've been doing quite a bit over there and trying to build all of that up. So, but I haven't forgotten about Survivalist Prepper. It's sort of just on the back burner a little bit. But yeah, the bugoutlocation.net.
Yeah, you got to keep Survivalist Prepper going for all those old school people.
Yeah. I can't let that go.
From back in the day.
Yeah. Okay,
I'm going to let Local Prepper or Jester, either one of you guys can answer this question, because I'm going to ask you the same question. And I know you guys got something going on that's actually pretty cool and pretty neat for the people on the East Coast. What you got going on, Jester?
Oh, we have the prep stock.
All right, stop.
Prep stock.
Stop. Either use your sexy voice or don't speak at all.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you about Prep Stock taking place in Nebo, North Carolina this October. Go to www.prepstock.net and get your tickets today.
See what I'm saying?
How was that?
And
Back in the box.
I don't remember. I think I did put the prep stock link down in the thing. I'll check on it, and I'll get Dell's link for his bug out location down in the description too. When is it, and what do people need to do to go there?
Go ahead, local prepper, your turn.
Okay.
Does he have a
website open over here? It is going October 12th through the 13th in Nebo, North Carolina. It's going to be in a state park. If you go to prepstock.net, everything is there. I know this because I built the website myself. Yeah.
Guys, it's the first time out of the gate for you running a festival, right?
No, it's actually the third time.
Okay.
Yep. We don't have any sponsors yet, but we do have supporters. We actually have a lot of supporters. We have we're going to be doing lectures on communication, bug out bags. I mean, you pretty much, if you can think of anything prepper related, we're going to be giving some form of lecture. I believe we actually have some kung fu stuff lined up where Jester's going to get flung around like a rag doll, and I'm going to put it on YouTube. We're going to have some fun out there. And here's the thing. Nobody's ever heard of it before. When I call and talk to people, it's like, what are you talking about? But I don't feel as bad because when I say something like, well, have you ever heard of Prepper Camp before? And they go, what's that? So I don't feel bad at all. Oh yeah. I don't feel bad at all. And here's the thing, guys, the tickets are actually so much cheaper than Prepper Camp tickets. I'm just going to leave that there. I'm going to set that to the side. But what I will tell you is that all the advanced tickets have already paid for this completely. So it's going to happen. It's not like, and for all you dipsticks out there, and I'm calling you dipsticks, okay? There's the camera. For all you dipsticks out there are like, we may not even have a world to go to prep stock. I'm not spending come on, man. I mean, really? Stop saying stupid things. See you there.
You'll waste more money in a week getting your coffee at
I know, right?
Casey's.
I know. We're even trying to make free coffee. We don't know if that's going to work, but there's stuff.
This is
tell about some of the stuff that's lined up.
Listen, this is a very little expense to gain a massive amount of information in a very short period of time. And you get to do it at a state park where there's other things to do. Take your family on vacation, go camping, come to Prep Stock. Learn about beekeeping, learn about self-defense. I'm going to be doing some gun demonstrations. We've got ham radio stuff going on, ammo reloading, pressure canning, all these little things that people are scouring the internet to want to do. You can watch YouTube videos about this, or you can be there in person and touch and feel what we're talking about. Hold one of these ham radios in your hand and be like, this is what I'm going to get when I order mine from Amazon, right? Yes, it is. There's a big difference between watching a how-to guide on the internet versus being there in person and being able to ask the questions you want to ask. Because how many times have you watched a YouTube video that was a DIY or a how-to guide and the guy didn't answer a question you wanted, and you leave it in the comments and it never gets responded to? This is immediate in-person response.
Yep.
And sort of like firearms training or learning how to put on a pressure dressing. You can watch those videos all day long, but nothing's going to beat somebody telling you and showing you and you being able to ask questions as the things go on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
that was cool.
Yoda must have missed when I put up the we can sponsor it thing. So I'm going to let her coordinate with you and see if we can't get some sort of sponsorship package out for you guys. Listen, everybody in chat, you hear us talk about this all the time on our channel. These festivals, not only are they great for learning the skills like Jester just talked about, will also help you meet people and start building community. And the people that you meet at these places are just as important, if not more important, than the skills and stuff that you learn. So take the time out, put yourself out there, go to one of these things. It's inexpensive. If you're close enough to make it a day trip, awesome. If not, go camp out. Go do that and meet new people and make connections, because I think now more than ever, that's going to become very important. Having community will give you insulation against stuff that's coming. It will magnify your skill base, you know, because I can turn to any number of people in our community that have a skill that I don't have, and they can not only help me do something, they can teach me how to do it in the process, you know. So go out there, and if you're not close enough or you don't have time to go out to prep stock, come to Midwest Preparedness Festival. If you're not going to Midwest Preparedness Festival, go to Self-Reliance Festival or Kentucky Sustainable Living. We're going to be in Kiowa, Colorado here in, gosh, about 4 weeks from now, at a prepping event there, you know. So go out and take part in these things, folks. All right. Does anybody have any last comments about what's going on, about just life in general?
Shoot them in the face.
Shoot them in the face. That is always an option. You know, I shared this with the Discord crowd over at Midwest Preparedness Festival. One thing I learned from playing Conflicted and playing this game and watching End of the World videos or movies, the moral compass of the group is always the first one to go. So if you want to survive the apocalypse, do not be the moral compass of your group. Plain and simple. All right, guys. Hey, everybody, stick around, guys. Everybody in chat, I hope you enjoyed it. Share this with other people. If you're not a subscriber, we do this at least once a month. Next month's WRL, though, I'm going to try doing it live from a festival. I'm going to try to actually use festival goers as the panel, and we're going to see how that goes. All right, and it may be recorded. It may not be live. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right. Till next time, everybody, go out and live a life done free.